the P&P Industry Insider Podcast. I'm Brett, the editor, and this is another edition of Insider's Rewind. We're looking back to the month of September and replaying some of the best moments, most impactful moments from the show. We'll be discussing all sorts of things: accountability, simplification of services, pest control business growth, and some discipline in marketing. It's all ahead, but first, a shout to our sponsors that make the show possible. First up, it's Coalmarch, marketing experts for the pest and lawn industry. From custom websites to digital campaigns, Coalmarch helps attract more customers and keeps your business growing. They'll also provide the first month free to podcast listeners, and if you want more information there, you can visit coalmarch.com/podcast. Next up is PestSure, the insurance program built specifically for pest control companies. With decades of experience, PestSure offers tailored coverage to protect your business, your team, and your reputation. Information is available online at PestSure.com. And Voice for Pest is also a sponsor of the show. They offer voice solutions for PCOs of any size, coast to coast, with all-in-one call management. They provide intelligent call routing and real-time reporting to seamless CRM integrations. Voice for Pest helps you capture every lead and deliver a better customer experience. Learn more at voiceforpest.com. The month of September, it was great for the show, great topics, great guests, including Pest and COO Courtney Karachi and Brian Goldman, the CEO of Big Blue Bug Solutions up in the Northeast. But our first stop is with Dan and Donnie solo on episode 241, getting people decisions right. In the section I picked, we'll start off with the challenge of reporting to two different people or bosses and standard operating procedures, as well as good fits in your business, bad fits, and more. Let's check it out.
You ever had someone who reported to two people? It never works, right? And and I say it, I mean that, like, it never works. I have never once in my life seen it where someone reports to multiple people and those individual people that they report to is getting what they need out of that person. I've never seen that work, ever.
You know what else is another one, which is kind of interesting, is you have a person who's, a good person, gets their job done and whatnot, and you're very busy, and they, you just say, why don't you handle it? And they handle it, but they don't handle it using your SOPs and your way of doing it. They may have gotten the job done, but they broke with the, with protocol. And how do you talk to others about that? Yeah, they got it done, but, we all have to be singing off the same sheet of music,
Yeah, and that's where I think standards and procedures come into play, right? If you don't have very clear standards and procedures, that will happen. And that's a leadership issue, right? That's your problem, because you should have been clear up front. Then this is not only what I want you to do, but this is how I want you to do it. Now, assuming that you have procedures and protocol and they still go beyond that, well, now that might be another issue. That might be a, right people person and core values and those types of things. And so it's all about clarity. Right?
By the way, there's nothing wrong with them suggesting, hey, let's improve this process this way and this way. But if they just go off on their own without, anybody's buy-in, then it becomes a problem. Even if they get the job done, it's not a good long-term solution.
Correct. So we're under this construct that you need the right people and you need them in the right seat. And the way that you know that you have the right people is that you run the people analyzer tool on every single person in your organization. You give them a plus, minus, or a minus based on your core values. And then from that, you make hard decisions. This person fits our core values or they don't. So that's kind of test number one, is finding the right people. Number two is that you clearly define the accountabilities or what needs to get done in your business, and then who's responsible for that. And it's one only. When I say it's one only, like there's only one person responsible. There's not two. It's not like you can have marketing and head of sales both in charge of new revenue. Nope. It needs to be one person, one responsibility, one accountability. So that's the right seat piece of it.
That's from episode 241 from early September, and we're going to move on now to episode 242 and our first guest of the month. It was Brian Goldman, the CEO of Big Blue Bug Solutions, and this episode was all about going big, but it's also about going big and simplifying at the same time. And the episode really lays out the history of the Big Blue Bug, its landmark status up in New England, and its history of being built, television appearances, and the company's tie with sports teams and so much more. So it's a great listen and a great lesson on growth. The part that I picked from the episode, it deals with the simplification of the business, and because it is a fairly old business, and compressing things down has helped them a lot. That way they can get down to business and stay on track and bring down the madness.
We had 90 years of codes in our system, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that we did. So some things were, hey, this person's covered for roaches and ants. This person's covered for rodents outside. This person's covered for this. And all of a sudden I'm looking through it and it was madness. And I said, that's it. We got to simplify everything. So so we always have like a word of the year. And so a few years ago it was simplicity. And then the following year I said, well, simplifying is so hard that simplicity is our word of the year again the following year, because it took us so long to simplify everything. So we took our hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of codes in the system, we limited it down to 34 things, processes that we do that, and not necessarily how you get rid of a pest or anything like that, but you got a residential, you got commercial proactive, commercial reactive type programs, certainly termite, liquid termite, termite bait, those kind of things. And we were able to limit it down to 34 and try to make it as smooth and easy as possible. And the whole point was, we don't want everyone to have to think, right? Like all of a sudden you're going out there and you're like, oh my God, is this person covered for this? Okay, now you're putting a technician in a tough bind, and now all of a sudden they're calling the office. Now you're wasting 10 minutes to figure out, are you going to upsell them? Are you going to upcharge? Or are you just going to get rid of the problem? Where most of the time we just said, just take care of it and we'll figure it out later. And so we really want to simplify, and now it has transitioned our business dramatically. It helped us identify all the things we were losing money on. We went through, we used to be a subcontractor for national business, and we said no more of that because we're losing money on that. We started zeroing in on all the things, and we were able to then that weren't making money, and we were able to make sure we're pricing those 34 things out accordingly, so they were all making money, and it really helped drive the business to the next level.
I think one of the really neat things. So when we see, second, third generation businesses, they have all these legacy service codes and all of that kind of thing. And it's really difficult to leave them, but they also have these legacy services that, like insulation and things that just, it's not part of the core business. But the hardest thing for an entrepreneur to do is to give up money, give up revenue, even if it's not good money, right? So pest control is good money. And I'm not saying don't do other ancillary services, but make sure that you're good at it before, because we had a client who was doing big bird jobs, right? And 100,000, 150,000 and losing money on them because they didn't know what they were doing, right? Yep. So before you do that, make sure that, but the simplification is huge. And what we see is a lot of young people starting companies now, just going in, we're going to do quarterly service, 3-time-a-year service. It's going to be residential. That's a good model, right? That's a good model, or even termite work. But having all of these different, retrofitting houses and all this other stuff, they may be good businesses, but you better make sure that you're good at them.
Go big and simplify with Big Blue Bug Solutions CEO Brian Goldman. That was released back on September 11th. Now, a quick reminder, folks, peer groups, they're available for you. That way you can chat with others in the pest and lawn industry. These peer groups are facilitated by David Billingsley, and they can help you get info on what's working for others, and so you can share what's working for you. PMPIndustryInsider.com/peer groups. That'll get you all the information that you need. We're going to move up to September 18th with Pest and COO Courtney Karachi, episode 243 here. It's titled How to Build a Successful Sales Machine. Now, I love the section that I picked, and if you missed the episode, you may have seen the short on social media with this particular part in it, but this does expand on it a little bit more. It deals with the courting aspect of larger accounts. Relationship development, so important, and it takes time for these larger accounts, and it does take patience and persistence without being too overwhelming to the client. Here we go.
Residential is a lot easier to grow rapidly. We were probably more like a 50-50 split prior to the acquisition. We are a little bit more heavy on the commercial side now. It's like more 55-45 split. But the biggest thing that we have really realized is that with commercial, and especially with these sales reps who really, they are their own marketing machine. They have to generate those leads for themselves, build up their pipeline. That's a slow burn. You might have some really great prospects that you bring on, and we see that, but then it kind of peters out, and then, okay, you have to build up your funnel. And so we've had different accounts that we've been working for a couple of years, and just now they're starting to sign with us. So that has been a mind shift for us, where it's not like, okay, we're going out to this pizza shop and they're just going to sign today. And that does happen, but these larger accounts that we're focused on, these different segments, it's a dating phase. Like, you got to court them. You have to show them where you're feeling, where they're feeling, and then make those additional reach outs periodically, just checking in, is it time? Can I do an inspection? So maintaining those relationships, and our biggest thing with sales is that's what we're doing. We're developing relationships. So we know that, yeah, we might not get this sale this year, but a year from now, 2 years from now, they're going to call us eventually. So, and we're confident in that. So that has been what we've learned commercially. So yes, are we growing rapidly in commercial? We are, but it's still taking time to gain that momentum, especially as we bring new reps on and we expand our geography where our brand presence is not quite as strong. So we know that we have to, and the way that we kind of structure people's comp and goals and all of that is also based on the territory that they are placed in. Whereas residentially, that's all lead driven. That's spending money on Google and SEO, and we do a lot with social media. We do a lot of Facebook campaigns. We're very active in our, I'm not sure if it's the same throughout all the country, but we have community Facebook groups. So like my town has like 4 of them, and there's a couple thousand of us in this town. Like this
Wow.
one is very, the Facebook community pages have been huge because people will go on there for recommendations, and we'll recommend ourselves, or one of our team members will. But now you see, okay, no, it's not just us. It's not just the team that's recommending. Now you have other people who have used us recommending us. So it's bringing legitimacy to what we're doing, and there's confidence in what we can deliver.
Episode 243 with Courtney Karachi of Pest, and we're moving into the final episode of September. It's titled Budgeting Breakdown, What Pest and Lawn Pros Should Spend on What. And this is the discipline in marketing that I mentioned at the start of the show. It's packed with great information about over-reliance on Google, marketing, of course, and the core percentages, gross margins, so much more. Here's Dan and Donnie.
I've seen companies go, bankrupt because of marketing, not because of operations, because of marketing. Back in the day, it was too much on Yellow Pages. Now it's too much on Google, or door to door. Like, you got to figure out, okay, if I'm going to spend all this money on it, either, well, number one, it has to work, but number two, where's the money coming from? If it's too much, maybe your operation's not big enough to eat, even if your operation's a good operation, it might not be able to fund it, and you might have to come in with some outside money or dial it back.
Yeah. Yeah. So the main thing there with, is just making sure that, you are disciplined when it comes to your budget. And I say marketing, but it could be a number of things. It could be sales, like what Dan mentioned. It could be, I don't know, you're a people person and you want to implement some new employee perk, which obviously we all want to do as much as we can. But you can't break the bank. You remember back in the day, remember when GM got in huge financial trouble because they had promised all these pensions and it almost broke the company. Do you remember that? They had made promises.
That was about the time that they filed for bankruptcy and the pest control industry was doing just fine.
Yeah, that's 100%. So my point is that, the idea here is that, you use the budget to remain disciplined and to make money, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. All right, number 5, we've kind of talked about this just a bit, but I want to come back to it real quick, which is you need to understand what your core percentages are. Dan talks about this a lot. I tend to agree, which is gross margin. If you keep your gross margin tight, there ain't anything that can't kill you. Meaning, like, if you've got a really good gross margin, everything else can be figured out. Now, if you make your fixed cost too high, like you're paying crazy rent on a building, or you've got some sort of contract that you're in that you can't get out, of course, that's going to hurt your profit margin. But generally speaking, you can get rid of that. Gross margin issues are way more difficult to to solve. And so the idea here is that you understand what those core percentages are and that you get in front of them before there's an issue. An example of that would be labor, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, a healthy gross margin means that you're manufacturing your product it in a profitable way. So if you look at, we manufacture hours of pest control or lawn care, but if we were making candy bars, if we add all the sugar and the cocoa and the labor to get the candy bars going, that what does it cost to do that, and what do we sell the candy bar for? And that's your gross margin. And the reason it's so important it determines what you have to do in order to break even. If you have a 50% gross margin in your office, that all your fixed costs are $100,000, that means $200,000 to break even. The first dollar after that, you make 50 cents. And then if you do $1 million, right, then you start to make some real money.
And that'll bring a close to Insiders Rewind, looking back to September. Full episodes online at pmpindustryinsider.com. And you can also find us online on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok as well. Give us a like and a follow at PMP Industry Insider. Happy October, folks. We'll see you at Pest World in Orlando. We'll be hanging out at the PCO Bookkeepers and M&A Specialist booth. That'll be booth 812. So we'll see you there in a couple weeks. I'm Brett, the editor, and I'll be back for another Insiders Rewind in early November.